Hey everyone, it's Lucy from KBeautyHobbit.com. Today let's talk about some skincare hacks. These are in no particular order and not necessarily related to each other, but these are just some tips and tricks that I've discovered or borrowed from some other people that I think will be useful to you. And if you have your own skincare hacks, please leave me a comment and of course like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Tip number one, I learned from Jude Chow from 50 Shades of Snail, and if you don't follow her, please do because she's amazing. She's mostly on Instagram and then she has of course a blog, but it's to store toner pads upside down, at least occasionally. Here's an example. These are the I'm From Beet toner pads, super saturated in essence. And if we open this tub, and I don't want to spill it, but you'll see that a lot of the essence is toward the bottom. I don't want to tip it too much and make a mess, but there's a lot of essence on the bottom. But that means that the top pads can potentially get more dry, especially if you have the tub for a while. And this tub has a lot of toner pads in it, so yeah, I am using it for some time. So to deal with that, you can simply occasionally store the jar upside down, and that will put the essence or the toner onto these top pads and soak them too. An alternative to that would be to simply take the whole stack of the pads and flip the whole stack upside down. However, that is potentially messier, and also I personally try not to touch things if I don't have to, especially things that I'm not going to use right away because that introduces bacteria. Number two is to use cleansing oil, especially cleansing oil that you don't love, to remove body sunscreen. Of course, we're all supposed to be using sunscreen on our body, especially if we're going to be on the beach. And body sunscreen tends to be on the heavier, greasier side, and you definitely want it to be waterproof if you are participating in any water activities like pools or river swimming or oceans or whatever you're doing. And it is hard to remove sometimes. I don't know if you've ever noticed in the shower after a beach day how your skin still feels kind of greasy and oily, and you can feel that layer of sunscreen on there, and scrubbing with just body wash doesn't really help. But if you treat it like you do your face and start with a cleansing oil first just to break that up, then it definitely cuts down on the whole scrubbing, soaping, and all of that stuff in the shower. I personally try to use as much UPF clothing as possible instead of doing body sunscreen, but that's obviously not going to work for everybody. And if you go to swim outside, maybe you have a UPF rash guard, but that still leaves your whole legs to need to be sunscreened. So this body cleansing oil hack really works for me. And it's also a really good way to use up some facial cleansing oils that maybe didn't work so well for your facial skin. My next hack is to use SPF that you don't love on your face, on your neck and chest. I know that the most common advice is to use SPF that you don't like on the face, on the body, but let's say it's fall or winter. Are we really putting SPF on the body? Well, not where I live, because we're wearing like winter coats and stuff, and my body doesn't see the light of day most of the time. So what are you supposed to do with sunscreens that didn't work for you in the fall or winter? If not using it on the body, are you supposed to just let them sit there and age, or are you supposed to throw them away or pass on to friends and family? I mean, all of those are options, but I try not to throw anything away. So I use sunscreens that I don't love on my face, on my neck, and on the chest, because those areas need to be protected all year long. I might also put them on the ears. Depends a little bit on the sunscreen. If it's just super sticky and disgusting and really white cast, I might rethink that strategy. But if it's just too shiny or a little too moisturizing for my face, or gives somewhat of a white cast that I don't love on my face but maybe isn't so noticeable on my neck, then neck and chest and hands is where I would use that up, and that tends to work really well for me. The next tip is to use the translator app. On the iPhone, you can get the Google Translator app. It's free, but it lets you take a picture of something or just use your camera without even taking a picture for a live, like real-time translation from whatever language you need to whatever language you need. It is getting easier and easier to find instructions and ingredients in English online, and in my reviews I always try to include ingredients if I have them, but sometimes people receive things as gifts or they buy something online and it does not have the English translation and they just want to read exactly what's on the bottle. So the translator app is absolutely great for that. It might not be perfect, but it's a heck of a lot better than not understanding anything at all. My next tip is to save money by visiting discount stores like TJ Maxx and Marshalls, and if that's not an option or if they don't have what you need, check out all the many discount codes that I provide in the description box, because I work with a lot of different stores, and since I have a big group of 75,000 people on Facebook, I sometimes can secure discounts for all of us to use, so I always try to include those in my reviews. Some of them are affiliate discounts, meaning it doesn't affect you, it gives you a percentage off or a dollar amount off, but it lets me make a little bit of money as well, which is what keeps me going with all the channel and reviews and stuff, because all of this takes a lot of time. That's also how I can buy some more items to review for you. But TJ Maxx and Marshalls are wonderful stores to check out for some random K-beauty finds. And I say random because if you want something specific and you go, you'll probably be disappointed, because their selection varies and sometimes there's just not much, but sometimes there's a whole lot, and sometimes you find great brands like Laneige and Dr. Jart and even Sulwhasoo and Shiseido. So it's a hit and miss. It depends on your area, it depends on the time, but if you just want to try some stuff and you are not super picky about the brand, it's a good way to get some stuff at a discount. And sheet masks and food peeling masks, those kinds of things are usually abundant. Just read the ingredients, check the brands. Some brands are better than others, but again, if you buy something and it's not exactly what you wanted, sometimes you can return it, or sometimes, you know, it was only a few bucks and maybe the loss isn't that great anyway. The next tip is to adjust beauty trends to what works for you, more specifically slugging. Slugging, if you're not familiar, is applying a layer of a very occlusive product like petroleum jelly or Vaseline or CeraVe healing ointment all over your face to seal in your skincare routine. The thought of that makes me shudder a little bit because it just doesn't feel like it would be comfortable. But what I do is selective slugging, and you can use beauty bombs for that. I use usually CeraVe healing ointment. And selective slugging, that's just the term that I made up. But basically what that means is slugging in specific areas. So I will slug or put CeraVe healing ointment under my eyes to seal in all the moisture there, because this area is so delicate, and when it's cold, fall, winter, it's dry, it can get a little wrinkly looking, right? I can slug on the nasolabial folds right here because I tend to peel here from thread, and these are also getting sort of, you know, sometimes when I smile and then stop smiling, the little crease takes its time to go away, and I don't love that. You have to be careful though with how you slug. Like, you don't want to slug over acids, for example. You don't want to slug over tretinoin because that can lead to irritation. You don't want to slug under tretinoin either, because tretinoin usually can't get through such an occlusive layer, but it's a good way to protect some areas that you don't want tretinoin to get to, like under the nose here, or maybe nasolabial folds if you really peel there, or under the eyes, etc. My next step is to not blindly trust influencers, myself included, even influencer doctors. Always fact check them, because what ends up happening is echo chambers of false information. And what an echo chamber is basically people repeating the same thing that is wrong so many times that it just becomes this widely accepted truth. For example, that using niacinamide with vitamin C together is a no, or that using tretinoin while you're breastfeeding is a no. Always double check that. If it's something as important as, let's say, pregnancy skincare, definitely check with your doctor and follow what they're doing. But if it's just somebody telling you that niacinamide and vitamin C together are a no-go, certain skincare myths like that, just try to do your own research. And by research, I don't mean read bloggers. I mean find some scientific articles, find some maybe doctor papers if you're able. And sometimes just maybe check for yourself if possible, as far as like try for yourself, as long as it's nothing dangerous. But don't blindly follow what people say, because that's how we end up with things like perineum sunning, which is not something I'm going to discuss on this channel, but it's just a horrible trend, and don't do that. That is dangerous. And yes, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's sunning your private areas. Don't do that. So those are my tips and hacks. Please share yours because I love learning from you. I do have some other tips and tricks. I have a whole playlist that you can check out if you want to see those. But let me know what you think. Thank you very much for watching. You can find me on Instagram at KBeautyHobbit, my blog KBeautyHobbit.com, and in my private Facebook group, Korean Beauty Fanatics, 75,000 members and growing. Would love to have you if you're not already in. I'll see you in my next video. Until then, please remember to always listen to your skin and not just influencers. Thank you so much.